Hello, Cancers. This is your reading for the week of January 19th. Won't be for all Cancers, of course. And could be rising, moon, lots of Cancer in your chart. So, Cancers, the first thing that I see as I start working with your energy is they're showing me you standing there and you're looking at little eddies of water. Pools, you know what an eddy is? It's in any kind of body of water where there seems to be almost like a spiral of water, and it tends to pull things down into it. So what I'm seeing is you looking at these eddies of water, and what they're saying to me is that these are different emotional patterns that you have. These are triggered reactions that will often create distance, conflict, that will kind of pull you away or pull you into yourself, okay, in a way where you have to go down deep. So it's like you would dive into it. So something gets triggered, this emotion comes up, you're looking at it. In the past, your nature is, because you're a water sign, you dive into that eddy and you check out all the water in that eddy. And then eventually you get spit back up and you'd stabilize yourself and you deal with what you experienced and then move on, right? Hopefully. But what you're being told here is please be aware of these triggers coming up for you, of these eddies that will get triggered and come up for you. You have the opportunity to deal with it differently now, because now you've not only, this is interesting, now you've not only developed a new standard for yourself in terms of what is emotionally acceptable and what you get for other people. You've also started really being able to discern and enforce what is all right for you to do for yourself. What emotions are you willing to accept from yourself? Because what you're really, really getting is you have the option of checking those things out from the edge. You don't have to dive into the middle of it. So let me give you an example of that. Say, for example, you have an upset with a sibling. And all of a sudden now, what it brings up for you is having been the middle child who always felt invisible. You can go into that. You can get upset with the person that responded to you in a way that made you feel that way. You can go into the memory of it. You can get into all of that and analyze it and figure things out. Or at this point, what you've understood is you are so much more developed and you are so much more solid. Do you want to go into that feeling? Do you want to experience that? Or do you want to experience that, but do you want to go into the eddy? Do you want to go down the rabbit hole? Do you need to? And what some of you are starting to get and understand is you're able to stay here, contact that energy, let yourself feel the emotion of that. And you might have 40 seconds of wanting to cry or feeling like the tears are coming up, and then it'll be gone. And then no more thinking needs to happen about that. Now, this is really fascinating and really powerful for you, Cancers, because this is part of the way where you now get to be really able to be safe, loving, because now you know when emotions and old things get triggered, you have a way of being able to deal with it that is not disempowering to you and is not therefore blaming and judging other people. This is where you get to really engage in masterful emotional intelligence. Now, what they're saying here is be prayerful. Focus on your prayers, because your prayers are what is going to, I'm sorry, something else came in and it distracted me for a minute. I have to stop and say this, which is that we are all being called now. At this point in time. And I say at this point in time, and yes, I mean globally, but what I'm feeling right now is really at this particular point in time. Now, January 2026 and forward. for at least until September, I feel strongly, is that you're being told it's really important in order to be able to maintain and continue to grow in our emotional intelligence, maintaining an awareness of the sacred around us, maintaining a prayerful attitude, whether or not that is invoking divine blessings, whether or not it is prayer, meditation, whether or not it is just simply acknowledging that there is a dimension of life beyond this that you wish to connect with or that you know is there and is guiding. However you decide you need to connect with that higher consciousness and that sacredness around us, this is super important for all of us now, because that is going to help us sustain the intention and the ability, therefore, because it all starts with choice and intention, to maintain that emotional intelligence. Doesn't mean we're not going to get thrown down into some of those eddies sometimes, because sometimes the pull is just so tempting because it's so familiar. It's so familiar, and in its own way, it's very alive making. However, it makes us feel alive because of all of that adrenaline. But we know as cancers, what we want is we want peace and security and that sense of peaceful love. We don't want the anxiety. We don't want the walking on eggshells anymore. You're being told, pay attention, please, to cognitive distortions that you have, because when old things get triggered, that's when we tend to get kind of stuck in old energy, and that old energy is often what carries the cognitive distortions. Men always do this, women always do that. I don't have anything to wear. I'll never be able. The absolutes, unless they are in a positive, are not so helpful, because our system is listening to us speak. So when we are speaking about lack, and when we are speaking in ways that sound absolute and negative and restrictive, our system hears that. That becomes the truth of our system. So please watch your words, especially anything that is, things will never change. It can't possibly get better. Things like that, so important right now. Doesn't mean don't acknowledge the truth of what you see, but just remember there is a greater truth, all right? Whether it's within the context of your own personal personality, emotions, or whether or not it's within the world around you. Please remember, pleasure, play, fun, it is not shallow, it is not contrary. When the world is sad, you don't need to be sad with the world. You can acknowledge the sadness. You can do what you need to do. And the more pleasure and the more positive energy you have for yourself, the more you're helping the entire situation. Again, whether it's locally or whether it's in a global sense, group consciousness is affected by every single one of us. So doing this to help yourself actually helps everybody. So it's not selfish. Okay? I leave you with that, my dear Cancers. This is great. This is really good, because you know what? You have a loving, tender heart, and you have great empathy. And so as you learn to develop this ability, this emotional intelligence in a way that is empowering for you, the more you get to share that with the world. And that is a great gift, Cancer. That is a great gift. Take care.